Greetings, sentient beings. This broadcast is not intended for children. There will be strong language and adult themes. So, I have Doc Fearsome with me today, and looks like we have a pretty good crowd gathering already. I know that Dave and Linda and Never Again were out there. Who else has showed up? Got Nerdy Rodent and Greg Hartwick. YouTube's actually saying that we've got 8 people watching.
What'll be happening, kids?
So how's everybody doing today? Oh, and Hans?
One thing I just love so much about my YouTube app on the Xbox, because like what I do is I play this on my Xbox while I'm on here on my phone, but I'll start it going and then it doesn't like update. So I have to pop out of it and pop back in, and it's kind of annoying.
Yeah, Sloth Girl usually is watching on her Xbox as well. Although she's out running errands now.
Hey, look at that. I just got the notification for this video. Yay!
So, yeah, for random holidays, I found Chocolate Covered Everything Day. I figured that was one that wasn't going to be too controversial.
Not too much. I'm rather a fan of chocolate myself.
Yeah, very few people are. I actually have not known anybody who was anti-chocolate, even though I've known a couple of people who seem to be allergic to it.
Yeah, I've met a few people that are allergic, and I have met a few people that say they simply don't like it. I don't like chocolate.
Well, I can understand being allergic to it. Not liking it, no. No, there's something wrong with those people.
It violates a fundamental law. And hello out there, Linda. Good to see you, kid. Good morning, Dave.
Yeah, I'm a bit out of it here. Just rather been in a lot of pain, so.
Yeah, perfectly understandable. I'm always out of it. I'm always out of it. Never been in it, as a matter of fact.
I've also been catted. I think he knows I'm hurting, so he feels he has to comfort me and has been more of a lap kitty lately.
No chocolate covered frog denied.
Well, I think the chocolate covered frog hopped out of the window, didn't it?
It probably did. In fact, I'd venture to say that not liking chocolate is just as bad as not liking pineapple on pizza.
No, you dip the pineapple in the chocolate. It doesn't go on the pizza.
Oh, I don't know. I think it's not good to mix pineapple with chocolate at all. But I'm kind of weird. I don't like most fruit mixed with chocolate. I don't. I mean, I don't know. Chocolate covered cherries, chocolate covered strawberries. Yeah, they're okay once in a while, but that chocolate orange with the orange flavored chocolate
Yeah.
is like my nightmare made manifest.
That one, it very much depends on the brand. Because there's
And
the good ones. I think Terry's is the brand of the good ones, but there's a lot of cheap ones that do it with artificial orange flavor that just doesn't work at all.
yeah. And I'm not the biggest fan of mint and chocolate either, whether it's ice cream or candies or whatever.
Yeah, I've had dessert pizzas that have chocolate in them.
I don't know if I ever have. That does sound good.
Well, they're pizza in shape only. That's the only resemblance they have. Most of the time, the crust is usually like the cinnamon roll dough.
Yeah. Yep.
And then it's usually like some chocolate syrup and different sorts of topping. Sometimes fruit, sometimes just like the like various ice cream toppings. Sometimes they have like strawberry preserves or something. Quite a few variations on those.
Yep. Even though it's not very exclusive to chocolate, I'm reminded that of when I was a kid, probably high school age, I decided I wanted to make some monster cookies, more or less. And I went out and bought like every sort of topping I wanted. So I had chunks, Reese's, like a Reese's Pieces kind of cookie thing, not just the candy. Um, and peanut butter chips, pecans, coconut, and I think one or two other things in it. I had to make the cookies huge because I had so much crap in it. And but what I also did is I had bought some of the caramel you put on your ice cream,
Mm-hmm.
and I took I had mixed up the cookie dough and the other stuff, and then I took and like put the caramel in, and then just sort of minimally stirred it to kind of marble the caramel through, and
Yep.
made them that way, and they made some pretty damn good cookies.
Yeah, got to get the Mrs. Richards caramel sauce.
Mm. Yeah, I think it was just like Hershey's, whatever stuff that you usually put on ice cream that
Yeah.
I used at the time, but this would have been circa 1990, 1991.
Yeah. No cigars. Oh, of course, how could you make monster cookies without M&Ms in them?
Oh, I think I did put M&Ms in them. That might have been one of the other ingredients I forgot. I had a ton of shit in there. It was way too much. Each cookie was a diabetic coma, so.
Okay, this is a truly disgusting notion. Dried
Uh-oh.
fish and chocolate? No.
Oh boy. Wasted good chocolate. Although I'm not the biggest fish fan either. I like tuna. That's just about it.
I like fish, although it's generally not worth the effort of picking all the bones out. Oh, of course, I tend to use chocolate medicinally. It actually seems to be more effective at keeping down the muscle tics from the Tourette's than anything else.
Yeah, I think it has. I think chocolate has a a chemical in it that stimulates your brain to produce serotonin.
Not serotonin. Chocolate actually promotes dopamine production.
Dopamine. Okay.
Yep. And that it seems to me that for all of my mental issues, it always winds up coming back to dopamine.
Yeah.
And that's with the Tourette's, they're not even certain what causes it, but one of the leading theories on it is an excessive number of dopamine receptors. So I think I just need something that makes me produce enough dopamine to clog up the excess receptors to make my brain function at a normal level.
That could be.
I've never seen any studies done on it, but a psychiatrist I was seeing many years ago said it sounded like a plausible theory.
In that case, I wonder why weed doesn't work for you so well. And maybe it's unfortunate that it doesn't work for you because, as far as I know, that stimulates dopamine production.
I wanted to try edibles because a couple of people have told me that may just be that my system doesn't take it up through the smoke. But that maybe by ingesting it, it would take it up better.
See, so far, I think I've been the opposite. Every time I've tried edibles, it doesn't seem to do anything. But I wonder if that has anything to do with my acid reflux. If I just break it down too fast before I can actually, process actual THC, it breaks it down to something else. But I don't know. Chocolate.
So anyway, we've got the schedule filled out for the Christmas Day Marathon for a solid 36 hours.
Oof.
Well, that's what we need to do to make sure it covers Christmas around the world.
Indeed.
So that's going to be from starting out early Christmas Day in Australia and wrapping all the way around until midnight Christmas Day in Hawaii.
Well, that works. I'm kind of ambivalent about this one though, because I definitely enjoy doing the streams and hanging out with you guys, but I fucking hate Christmas so fucking much. Like I really, really fucking hate Christmas. But I will most likely be working Christmas night. Christmas Eve night and Christmas Day night.
Yeah. There's a lot of parts about how Christmas is celebrated that really annoy me. I guess I don't hate the whole thing overall, but unfortunately it seems to come with a lot of uncomfortable obligations.
Mm-hmm. Well, and the overwhelming majority of Christmas music I just can't frickin' stand, and it's hell for me every year because as you know, like 3 months before frickin' Christmas, there's already Christmas music playing everywhere, and the
Yeah,
closer
it would
you
definitely
get,
help
and
if it didn't start so early. It definitely should not be
mm,
starting before Halloween.
well, most certainly. Halloween, of course, is a holiday I can respect, but I don't know, Christmas. Ah, humbug.
Yeah, you go sit with the fish. Chocolate covered broccoli.
You know, I would try it, but I don't think I'd like it.
No, it is not meant to be liked. Broccoli in cheese and butter sauce, yes, but
Oh, yeah. Or ranch.
yep.
Never nerdy. It's never okay. Adding Christmas hats to your avatar is a sign of weakness.
Yeah, I know a lot of people have various issues.
Yes, indeed. But I, for one, would like to invite everyone to take up their swords and join me on a sleighing ride this coming season. It shall be a crimson Yuletide. Don't eat the red snow.
Yeah, I think this is the problem with a lot of Christmas, that a lot of people will feel that you have to be happy at Christmas regardless of what's actually happening in your life. That the entire month of December you're not allowed to be in any way sad. And that puts a hell of a lot of pressure on people.
Yeah, it definitely does. Now, one thing I think I can make a pragmatic argument, at least about the time Christmas is celebrated. Because what you have is the most popular, the most traveled holiday of the year, and it's held during the worst traveling time of the year. If you must, and since Christmas is not Jesus's damn birthday anyway, you know, why not pick another time in the year to celebrate Christmas? Why does it have to be winter? And I understand it coinciding with the winter solstice
Yep.
and all that history and crap, but you know, back in the day they didn't have, you know, people dying in 14 car pileups. So I would suggest moving Christmas to the summer solstice.
Well, that's the way the Australians do it. But yeah, for me, I don't actually celebrate Christmas. I do my observance on Yule. That for the winter solstice, I do an all-night flame ritual.
Cool.
But that's more of going back to my Scandinavian heritage and the whole thing that, yeah, when they lived above the Arctic Circle, they went several weeks without seeing sunrise. So it kind of had a bit of a different meaning there, that it was very important to keep your fire burning.
Hmm.
It was literally a matter of life and death. If your fire went out for a couple hours, you might not survive the winter.
Indeed. At least there's a pragmatic element to the ritual. So
Yeah. Yeah, I have my whole spiel on it in my channel there somewhere. I can find a link. That was actually the first edited video I had made. Oh, come on. Yeah, YouTube has gotten far worse about just screwing up everything on home pages and trying to look for videos. They've made it so much more difficult lately. But yeah, dropping a link in the side chat for my thing that explains my whole Yule tradition. Ow.
Rudy.
Katie just got up, but could not do so without driving a claw through my shin.
Of course not.
Well, especially Sammy's son. He can't fully retract his front claws.
Yeah.
So I know he doesn't mean to hurt me, but yeah, I don't have enough armor on right now. This blanket's a little too thin for it.
Probably do better with a comforter.
Yeah, and actually my apartment has been quite chilly lately, but I've had to have a fan running because I've been trying to dry some paint and also trying to disperse the odors, but I can't really have the window open.
Yeah, it's probably a little cold for that.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what it is, but I know it's below freezing out there.
I think the last I checked, it was around 20 here. In fact, my thing is telling me 27. I don't know what the real feel or wind chill factor and everything is, but yeah, this has actually been a strange winter for Iowa. We've had one snowfall and it's gone already. And hell, when I was growing up, we had plenty of Halloweens where we had to put on our snow boots.
Hold on a minute.
Oh.
Hey, Mike. Sorry
Hello,
about that.
fellow
Soft
Mike.
Girl had just come in. Just bringing me my prescriptions.
Hi, how's it going?
All right, how you doing?
Yeah, not too bad actually. How are you guys?
Hanging in there.
Oh, yeah, I'm being pretty sore, but
Hi, Greg. Greg saying hello to me. Um, Greg is my one and only Patreon, and so yeah, I I I I don't know if he knows this or not, but I actually left him an exclusive video for him to watch in Patreon. So but I don't know whether it's I don't know whether he's seen it or not, but hopefully he has, and hopefully he enjoyed it anyway.
Groovy.
yeah, so Mike, you got a special show coming up, huh? You're planning your 2-hour extravaganza.
I've got a 2 hour special coming up this Thursday, starting at 10 o'clock. Um, Simply because there's so much news happening this week, and I've been keeping notes of everything. The list is it's gone so long. I thought there's not going to be enough time for just 1 hour. 1 hour is not going to be enough. So I thought I'll do a 2 hour special, and we'll see how we get on. So they're starting at 10 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time. I think that's. I'm not quite sure what time that is where you are.
Let's see, Perp, we're what, about 6 hours ahead, I think.
Yeah, I'm 6 hours ahead of London.
Mm-hmm.
No, so London's 6 hours ahead of us.
Yeah, London's 6 hours ahead of us.
Yeah.
You could get him some snackage. They're in the end cabinet on top. Opposite end, other side of the sink. Oh,
So what is that? 4 p.m. Okay.
yeah, it'd be 4 in the afternoon for us, for 10 o'clock for you.
Yeah.
Bummer, that's during my bedtime.
All right.
I'll have to catch it on a rerun.
Yeah. So yeah, I've been watching it, in the background. You've been talking about Christmas and how you hate it.
You're not mathing right. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Christmas at all. Although
No.
I will admit there are a couple Christmas songs I like, but like Greensleeves, which that's not the modern Christian version people are used to, but uh, as I understand it, it's originally a pagan song. So I like that one, but not much else.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure what the origins of that one were.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
I don't know much about that song, to be fair. I mean, we got taught
Yeah, I don't know. I know it's
at
below
school.
freezing. I don't know anything beyond that.
It's about 20 degrees. It's cold and peeply out there.
We got taught about green leaves at school. I seem to remember, but I don't remember exactly what we got taught about it. It was a long time ago.
Hmm.
And yeah, but I could do without Christmas, to be honest.
Hey, Sam.
Hello.
Hey,
Hello.
hello. But if it was up to me, I wouldn't do Christmas. But it's I've got kids and they love it, so I have to at least do something. But so
I have mixed feelings. I have mixed feelings on Christmas. I mean, granted, that's partially because I would rather do Yule, but you know.
Yeah, well, I do the Yule. So by the time Christmas comes around, my holiday's over.
See, doing a, I guess, traditional Yule would be very fun, but mildly unrealistic because it's a 12-day long feast.
Yeah, well, I don't do the whole 12 days. I just do the night of the solstice.
Yeah.
Which is actually rather more like what the current New Year's is. Because that's what the solstice originally was it marked the end of the year.
Yep.
Oh, biblical necromancy. That sounds interesting. I may watch that later.
Pardon?
Sorry, Sam. I was just having a peek at your channel, and I saw a video about biblical necromancy.
Yeah, it's all over the place. Resurrections
Okay, yeah.
and speaking to the dead and all sorts.
Yeah, I seem to remember some of that. Yeah. I'll give it a look later on. Cool.
Yeah, I just went, you know what? Fuck it. It's Halloween.
Yeah, actually half of Purple streams are while I'm sleeping too, so. Oh.
Hello there, never again. Good to see you again.
Never say never again.
Yeah, but that was actually the tradition of the Yule log was supposed to be, going out in the forest and trying to find a log that was going to be big enough that it was going to keep burning for 10 days.
Yep.
Oh yes.
And the amount of Christians I have heard say that the Yule log is a Christian thing.
Well, yes, and they try to claim the Christmas tree too, but
the Christmas tree actually is kind of on them.
No. They had Christmas trees in Scandinavia for 1,000 years before they ever saw a Bible.
Oh yeah. It wasn't it Luther who started sticking candles on this pine tree, and he said the candles represent the light of the world.
To the best of my understanding, that was kind of things that happen in groups and they decorated trees, but the idea of bringing a tree into your house was something that occurred post Christians showing up.
Oh yeah, they didn't bring them inside, but they would trees around the village. They would
they would
hang with little
yeah
they'd hang with bits of food that were supposedly offerings to the gods, but had the practical effect of keeping the animals near the village, so hunting remained good through the winter.
True. And I refer to those as proto Christmas trees because when you think of a Christmas tree, people tend to mean the thing you put in your house.
Hmm.
Yeah. Well, I've got the artificial tree just because I don't like the idea of killing a tree just to drag it inside for a month.
I much prefer artificial trees, but this year my dad has grabbed a actual tree, and some shit went down during this year that I think if my dad wants a real tree, fair play.
I didn't mind a real tree when I actually had a fireplace, so I could do something with it when it was time to take it down.
Having
The
a
idea of
fireplace
just
would be
tossing it in the
lovely.
trash. Yeah.
The problem with real trees is that they drop their pine needles everywhere.
Indeed.
It's a pain in the ass to tidy them up.
Especially if you have cats.
Yeah.
Hey,
Like-
it's
Yeah.
fair. You chop the tree's roots off, it tries to burn your house down.
Yes.
This is a fair assessment.
It's just
Honestly,
karma, man.
if I was going to get an actual tree, I think what I'd really do with it is buy an actual tree that stays in my house the whole year round, and then just decorate that tree.
I used to have that. I used to have a pine tree in a pot, but I'm not very good with houseplants.
Oh, I would be awful with houseplants, but one of the people that I pseudo plan on kind of existing in the same house as is a green witch, so they are fairly good with keeping plants alive. Yeah, so I can just be like, it's not my job. I'll walk the dogs.
I'm not good at keeping plants either. They theatrically wither and die in an instant as I approach.
Mine don't go down that fast, but I did dehydrate a cactus.
That almost doesn't seem possible.
Yeah, well, 6 months of neglect will do things.
Yeah, I don't have particularly green fingers, but whenever I've been put in charge of a plant, they've never died.
Yeah,
Though
the cactus just happened to get pushed back on a shelf where I didn't see it for a long time, so.
That'd do it. I just tend to go, I'm shit with plants, don't put me in charge of them. Like, I do not need that responsibility.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah. I will quite happily walk the dogs, given that most days I have a 3 to 4 hour walk in the evening anyway.
Yeah, well, dogs and cats and kids, they'll at least remind you they're there, so.
Yeah, so will a tortoise, funnily enough. When they're not bloody asleep this time of year. Much as I love that tortoise to bits, sometimes he makes me jump in the evening when I'm sat trying to watch something and he just kind of sticks his head up.
I used to keep terrapins when I was a kid.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, right now I just the kitties.
Fair. It's funny, my dad has a tortoise, I disremember which breed, but something Caribbean, I think. And then my dad also has 2 dogs, and then my mum has 3 cats and 2 dogs. on top of between the two households, I have 7 younger siblings.
Ay caramba.
Mhm.
I'm the youngest of 9.
Oof, I'm the oldest of 8.
Oof.
Though I do not expect that number will go any higher because my stepmom is not alive and my stepdad has had the snip.
Good, good.
Oh,
I'm the youngest of 4 myself, and I'm 46 years old, and my mother still calls me her baby. I prefer the term veteran child.
Okay.
This is
That's funny because I'm the oldest of 4, and I'm going to be 45 next year, and my mum still calls me her baby.
See, I'm my youngest sister, who's 3, is going to be my baby sister when she's 15 and I'm in my 30s, and there is nothing she can do about it.
yeah, that's one of the things about my family that really rather pisses me off, that the baby thing should have gone away before I turned 50.
Yeah, and it will. In all reality, if she asks me to stop, I'll knock it off. But I will use it to wind her up a bit. Yeah, granted, we'll have to see what the rest of my family makes of me by the end of this year. Because I've decided that if I come out on Christmas Day, I end up coming out on Christmas Day, and fuck it.
Do you really want to do it on such a high-profile occasion?
Yeah. Because if I just casually say the word partners and someone freaks out, that's kind of on them for not being in contact with me for the last 6 months.
Okay. So what, you're bringing your partner with you to the family gathering, or?
No, but my nana is a nosy fuck, and she will ask about my relationship status, and I will comment that I'm doing great and my partners are good. And then I'll have to explain that I have multiple partners. So granted, I may end up coming out at the end of this week instead of actually on Christmas Day, because I am going to bump into some people who are doing some street preaching who are from my nana's church.
Ah,
I will be wearing my pentacle necklace that day.
Ah,
Yeah. And so that's going to be a whole conversation to have with them. Like, hello, yes, I am pagan and trans and queer. You did not know this because you've not asked.
yeah, I came out to my whole family, I think it was 1994, and to date, only 2 of them have acknowledged it.
Oof. So I came out to my mum a while back, and so I presume by proxy my stepdad knows, but the rest of my family doesn't, and I have quite a large extended family. And
Yep.
my dad has literally known for years. Because I just sort of straight up told him when I became pagan and came out as trans.
Well, and I said the same thing when I did my coming out letter. I basically said that I didn't think it was news to anyone. It was just kind of acknowledging that this is something that it was okay for everybody to talk about openly, and anyone who hadn't been aware of it just hadn't been paying attention.
Yeah, I don't intend to broach the topic with my mum besides casual references to them, because I moved all of my shit out of her house while she was out, such that I was moving to my dad's, and I pretty much moved to my dad's anyway, but I moved all of my shit while she was out so that she couldn't try and vandalize it, just in case. And then I sent her a YouTube video explaining of me coming out so that she couldn't keep interrupting me, because she does that.
Yeah, that was largely why I sent a letter to my family. I just sent out 15 copies of the same letter.
And then when I got a phone call from her to talk about it, it was simply her being pissed off that I'd moved out without telling her. No acknowledgement of the shit besides I'd expressed in the video that I felt she hadn't properly acknowledged it when I'd said I had a boyfriend because he'd been trans and free transition, and that she'd just seen it as a cis relationship. And her only acknowledgement of it was saying that and saying her going, "You want an acknowledgement of it? Fine." And that was it. And so it's just like, fine, you don't want to give a shit, don't give a shit, but don't try and play victim card.
True that.
The interesting thing with my situation is that my mum always thought that I was gay, but I wasn't ready to admit it. So I didn't admit that I was gay, and then I became a Christian, and I was even more reluctant to admit that I was gay, and so I would always deny it. But Mum kept saying to me, are you sure? I won't love you any less if you admit that you're gay. And I said, no, Mum, I'm not gay. I'm not gay. And then I got married to a woman, and so she now thinks that she was wrong. I wasn't, but she was partially right. I'm kind of bi, I guess, but I haven't told her or the rest of my family, because most of them are quite conservative in their views, and so
I mean, I was asked by my stepmom when I was like 10 if I was gay, and I didn't know what the word gay meant, so I just said no.
Okay.
And then when it was later explained to me, it was like, I don't think so, but because I'm demisexual and have trust issues, I didn't actually experience sexual attraction until age 16, and then I worked out I was queer.
Okay.
Yeah, you got so many more options now.
Yeah. Which is useful, but all of them are my friends. And it's like, okay, so I can only be sexually attracted to my friends. Great. Doesn't make anything awkward.
But you have to forgive my ignorance, but demisexual is not a term that I've heard before.
That's okay. A lot of people haven't heard it. I just sometimes forget to explain. Basically, I don't experience sexual attraction until I've formed a strong emotional bond with someone.
Okay, yeah.
And so those are primarily my friends. Meaning that due to just my orientation, I'm not going to experience sexual attraction until I'm friends with someone.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, I've tended to do it the other way around. My longest lasting relationship started out with hooking up with somebody for sex and getting to know each other in the months afterward.
Oh, I can hook up with someone for sex in theory. I just won't be sexually attracted to the person I'm having sex with. Which is bizarre to most people. But then I'm still working some things out about what's considered bizarre. Like, I thought that it was only jokes until very recently that straight people consider like a 30 minutes a regular length for a sexual encounter. And it's like, what? It doesn't take hours?
Yeah, I don't do quickies.
No. No, if 3 hours is cutting it short for me, which my poor dad, I just go to him with any question basically that I don't understand about not normal people. And when I expressed that I felt 3 hours was cutting it short, he was mildly confused.
Okay.
And so that's kind of when it clicked that no, people genuinely just don't do this shit for long.
Hey, Duke. Haven't seen much of you around.
I've been keeping to myself.
Hello.
A lot of solitude. I felt like I needed to take steps away from things, but like I still check in from now and again. Usually I see your little links in the chat, but it's like 3 or 4 hours later. I just happened to catch one running live still.
Good to see you again, Duke.
It's good to see everybody. How's everybody doing?
I'm doing good. I don't know if we've met before. Hi.
No, I don't think you have. Sam is kind of a new member here, and I think Duke hasn't really been around much since you showed up.
I mean, I think I've said hi to you in a few of like Neil's live chats and shit, but that's about it.
Probably so. I barely even. I used to be like a pretty, almost like furniture in Neil's after parties, man. I was on almost all of them, but just between working and everything else, I ran out of time. I used to have my original Twitter account, which had almost 3,000 followers, got freaking permanently suspended, and I got back on, and some people. I got like keep in touch with the people I love, but for the most part, I've been steering clear of all the other shit. It's not good for my blood pressure.
That's fair. Yeah. I kind of show up on Neil's channel most Saturdays when I'm not dealing with one of my humans having a crisis.
Right.
Yeah, I don't get into Neil's nearly as often as I used to. Just because the time in the evening when he's running them, I'm usually wind up being occupied with other things.
I have a tendency to make Neil feel old by accident.
Well, Neil is old.
Yeah, but I also make everyone there feel old because, like, for frame of reference, I was born after 9/11.
Right.
Oh.
I already had a kid at 9/11, but I'm 43. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
I'm old also.
You're between my mum's age and my dad's age, then.
Right.
And
My son was born, I think, a year before you.
Neil is
depending on when you were born.
2002.
Yeah, 2 years before you.
Because Neil is legitimately old enough to be my grandparent.
I was raising teenagers on 9/11.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't that far along, but I had a kid. My son was born by then.
Yeah.
You're not the first one though. You're not the first one. You're not the first one though, man. Zach came along and he's a youngin' also. So
almost.
We've always had at least one youngster around making us feel like older than dirt and shit, you know?
Frequently, when I hop into StreamYards pre a stream, I will get someone commenting that they're the youngest here, and then I have to be like, "Hi, no, I'm 18."
That's crazy. So, what was everybody talking about before I jumped in and derailed the conversation?
We talked about coming out to family over Christmas.
Yes.
Okay. Just in general, or as an atheist, or as your sexuality? Like, was there a context to it?
Well, I was talking about it is the fact that I am pagan and queer and trans, and my family's Pentecostal.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, that's when I did. I went the same way. I just did it all at once of telling my family that at the time I was I was pagan, polyamorous, and pansexual. Just figured
Yeah.
to get all over with at once.
Oh yeah, and I feel like doing it in 2020 will probably help it feel like less of a big deal.
Seems that way. I came out on as an atheist. It's the only thing I've ever really come out as. Well, really as bi also. I did both those things just on Facebook. So like everybody I knew was on Facebook. So it was just easy enough to just be like, hey guys, fuck off. This is what I am. You don't have to like it, but you know, you're gonna respect it at least. That was years ago.
Yeah, my favorite coming out story is still my ex's best friend. When he came out to her and his sister, they both had the same reaction, which was, "You didn't realize it?" It's like all the women around him had figured out he was gay before he did.
That exact thing actually happened to me when I came out to my college mates. They were like, yeah, no shit. Like, there is no way you're straight, and there is no way you are simply a guy.
Yeah, see, that wasn't really an issue for me because nobody bothered to talk to me about sex. So I had already had a girlfriend and a boyfriend before anybody told me I was supposed to have picked one or the other.
Oops. See, no one explained sex to me, but it was made very clear that relationships were supposed to be a boy and a girl. And I kind of, at 14, I'd worked out what sex was, but to this day, no one's ever sat me down and explained sex to me, and that's probably better. Because it means misconceptions like it's only supposed to last so long fly over my head.
Yeah, Ox has got it. Gender's like food. Everyone likes what they like, and it's nobody's business or right to judge.
This is true. I actually use a food analogy to describe my experience of gender. It's like I walked into a fudge shop, sampled everything, and bought nothing.
Well, any relationship should be defined by the people involved in it, and what anyone else thinks is nobody's business.
Oh, yeah. My relationships stretch the definition of relationship within society to the point where my family probably wouldn't consider my relationships actual relationships.
I don't know. By the time I brought my fiance home to meet my family, I think they were just so relieved that I was with someone who appeared to be the opposite gender. They weren't going to ask any more questions.
I don't know that my family will ask questions, but I know for certain, because I used to get these emails, that there will be emails for at least months asking people to pray for my soul because I've been possessed by Satan.
Yeah, I get some of the time. I used to get it at one of my jobs where I trained all the new people that came in, and my friends that knew that I didn't believe would convince them that I was a Satanist.
Hey.
Hey, Jenny.
Hello.
Hello.
Jenny's driving.
I am inevitably going to be referred to as a Satanist by a lot of people by the end of this year. Which is inaccurate, though I know a lot of Satanists, and they're significantly nicer than most Christians I know.
Why the hell would they do that?
Yeah, I'm connected to the temple, the Satanic Temple of Florida, but I don't participate. I just know a bunch of them here in North Florida. They're good people. They have great senses of humor.
Well, my main strategy for dealing with my family has been that I will give them an honest answer to anything they ask me. So for the last 25 years, this has really deterred them from asking me any questions about my personal life.
I am probably going to end up being the same. So my little sister doesn't know better, so she will ask questions, get answers, and my mum is going to struggle to teach her otherwise. Because I'm going to be allowed to be somewhat involved with my smallest sister's education, because my mum wants to home educate her. And so I'm allowed to be somewhat involved with that. Is the current plan, at least. And because my mum knows about this shit, I presume it doesn't bother her too much. I just won't be allowed to give her RE lessons.
You will be able to give her what lessons?
Religious education lessons.
Oh.
But, you know, if she's staying over at a big brother's house and she sees a big brother doing ritual, or what she perceives as her big brother, and she asks questions, I'm not going to lie to her.
No, it doesn't make sense to lie to her. Honestly, I don't see a whole hell of a lot of difference between the rituals of the. Well, there's a huge difference. I don't know how to put it. I don't see why polytheistic rituals would be that much more offensive than pagan rituals. I mean, there's a whole lot of ritualism in, you know, from the laying on of hands to the talking in tongues to all the crazy stuff that goes down in the Pentecostal stuff.
It's purely and simply a problem because it's demonic in their eyes.
Yeah, the Catholic Church has so much more in common with polytheistic religions than they would ever be comfortable admitting.
Oh yeah, the saints are literally just ripped off versions of half
cousins.
Yep. Yeah, the saints are all basically minor deities in the Catholic religion.
Oh yeah, they are. Yeah,
and
definitely.
Most of the saints are directly ripped off, or at least partially ripped off from some of ours. I mean, bloody hell, Santa Claus comes from Odin.
Yeah, well, I mean, right down to the thing that, like, each of the saints, you have to pray to the correct saint for the specific thing you want. If you pray to the wrong saint, you're not going to get any results. Well, you won't get any results anyway, but...
Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
granted... They just need to improve their internal communication systems.
Clearly. Granted, Catholicism makes much less sense to me than anything any pagan I've seen has done, even the fluffier ones.
Yep, yeah. Jenny's down by the river.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that statement about the internal dialogue, because I've asked that a bunch of times. I've asked a bunch of people that, like, how do you differentiate between God talking to you and then your own internal dialogue? If you're like, if that's how you're coming to conclusions that whatever it is you believe is absolutely correct, I've never gotten a solid answer from any of the like hardcore Christians on that. It's usually the people I'm talking to, because they'll be like, well, I don't have to explain anything about what I believe because God's, you know, revealed it to me, and that's how I know it to be true. And it's like, well, then how? But how do you know that He's revealing things to you?
You know,
like, how do you know that's not just you talking to yourself?
You know, when people say they have had like a vision or whatever, and it's just a mental image they've got. That always baffled me, because I don't do the mental images thing. Like, when people say they can imagine stuff in their head and it's like they're seeing it, I don't experience that. And so that confused me, because I assumed it was one big, like, societal metaphor that everyone was using. And as such, I'm always really confused when people go and watch a film and complain that that's not how the characters weren't how they looked in the person's head. Because, like, I didn't create a frame of reference in my head because I don't have images there. I've never experienced that.
Uh, you back, Duke?
Yeah, I got a phone call for whatever reason. When that happens, it knocks my Bluetooth out. It knocks my headset out. Then I
Yeah,
have to
stopping
reset
problem.
everything.
Oh,
Which is probably just somebody trying to tell me that the warranty on my car is up and they really want to sell me another one.
yeah, I keep getting that, and I've never in my life owned a car that had a warranty.
I know what you mean. Well, it's an interesting thing too, because like I get them at people call me at like Lowe's, where I work at Lowe's, or when I used to work at the hospital, they'd call the hospital and be like, "Can I talk to the whoever the owner of the house is?" I was like, "No, this is the emergency room."
Unless it was St. Michael's Hospital, then you give them to God.
Yeah, fucking crazy, man.
Yeah, I mean, at least it's not as bad as who the King of Poland is. Because the King of Poland is legitimately just Jesus.
Is that really? I did not know this.
Yeah. And I only really know this because it showed up a while back on one of my social media feeds, and I went and researched it because my best friend is Polish.
Jesus Christ ski.
So he's not just king of the Jews anymore.
No, King of the Poles as well.
He's king of the
King
bad
of the
jokes
Poles
too.
as well. Yeah. Oh Lord. You know what I've always found interesting about all those jokes? I mean, not really interesting because they're terrible, but those jokes, like you can take all the jokes that people made about Polish people, and you can literally, like any of that stuff, you can literally just ad hoc any fucking group of people you don't like
Oh yeah.
into them, and they're just infinitely reusable. Because like when I was a kid growing up in Texas, like everybody around me hated the fucking Aggies. And so, like, every joke that you would normally hear that would be a Pole joke or a Jewish joke or whatever that is would be an Aggie joke. And that's how I came to know all of them. And then I realized, oh shit, people are just taking all of these premises and just recycling them,
Oh yeah, people do
via
that
their
all-
whatever
yeah.
bigoted idea they have. It's just weird. It's just so weird to me. I don't know.
People frustrate me, and I live in theory, it should be like a progressive area, but it's not.
Well, Polish jokes seem to have been popular when I was like in elementary school. I'm thinking elementary school, maybe as late as junior high school, and I had this whole arm of our family who had married into a Polish surname, and these jokes are so insidious to a kid that I began to think about that portion of our family and say, yeah, that's true, and that kind of stuff. You look for as a kid, you look for reasons to make it true. It's bad stuff.
I because of where I grew up, I'd hear some about Polish people, but it was mainly about the Irish.
Well, that's understandable.
Also, having spoken to several Polish people, America is significantly more aware of Poland than Poland is of America. It is just some other country someplace.
Yeah, my father's side is Polish, so the family name is, but I kind of went through that a lot of the jokes as a kid, and yeah, the same kind of thing. It's like I've heard virtually all the same jokes used for Italians as well.
Yeah, and it's not even like people try to get creative with them. Like, it's a bit like how they have precisely two jokes about trans people, and one of them's the helicopter joke.
Yep.
I've never heard the actual helicopter joke. I didn't know there was one.
Oh yeah, it's when someone explains their trans identity and the response is some variation on, oh yeah, well I identify as an Apache attack helicopter, except I've actually heard the attack helicopter one.
Yeah, Dave Chappelle did the one where he says he identifies as a Chinese person, right?
Yeah, I think Piers Morgan might have done one where he said he identifies as like a 23-year-old man or something.
Now, Piers Morgan said he identified as a penguin.
Oh yeah, he did at one point, didn't he? But
Yeah.
Piers Morgan has said so much stupid shit I can't keep track.
Well, but Piers Morgan is pretty much like a penguin. He's just a stiff little cold thing that
That's an
nobody
insult
likes.
to penguins.
Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry.
I'm not a
Don't
fan,
insult
not a
the
fan of Piers
penguins. They'll
Morgan.
come after you with their lasers.
I
Yeah,
wrote him on a tweet. And I told him we disavow him as part of the Morgan family. He's out. We've had a vote.
Don't blame you, but just don't try and send him my way.
You're just going to replace him with Morgan Freeman?
Sure, we'll take him.
Seems fair.
Boy, it is cold out here today.
Oh,
Believe it or not,
Theoretical's
it's pretty
asking
damn
for it.
cold
He's
here as
taking the
well.
penguins' food.
Yeah, if you fuck with the penguins, you might be fucking with the Ice King too. Nobody's allowed to fuck with his penguins except for polar bears, you know, because that's just evolution. That's just nature.
Yeah, and if we're not, and I feel like not only would the penguins have lasers, the penguins would like hire the sharks or some shit, and the sharks can have lasers.
Yeah. Outside of a zoo, no penguin has ever seen a polar bear.
Yeah, I
You know,
know.
they kind of live on opposite ends of the earth, literally.
Yeah.
It's a joke. It's a joke from a cartoon, buddy.
I know.
I
know. Adventure Time.
In South Africa, something occurred where my dad was trying to get a picture of one of these South African penguins, and one was stood on a wall, and my dad took a picture of it, but the flash was on, and the penguin just fell backwards off the wall it was stood on with a thump, and it froze up when my dad took the picture. And so to this day, we don't actually know if the penguin survived.
So, lesson, folks. Turn your flash off. We're taking pictures of penguins. For God's sake.
Apparently.
Think of the fucking penguins, man.
Okay, so if you're going to go to Antarctica, just bring lots of flash bulbs because that paralyzes the penguins.
There you go. And they can't use their laser beams on you if they're paralyzed. Right? That's the dopest shit ever. We need to
Okay,
add that into
so
the
that's how we'll
fucking
get over the ice
official
wall and see the
literature.
dome on the other side, huh? We have a plan of attack now.
That's right. We could look off into the great glass globe, snow globe of God.
See, I always want to know if
Fuck's
the
sake.
globe was like a single membrane of whatever it is, or a geodesic dome. You know, panels, buckyball panels.
Yeah, I've always assumed it's probably a single continuous curve because they can't figure out the math to do a geodesic.
Do you think they can do the maths to have a single curve? It needs to be an individual straight line.
So it's more of a box than a dome.
Yeah, you know, it would be a whole lot easier if the dome just wasn't there.
But then all of the air might escape.
Or all the water will come crashing in.
But that's right, because clearly the water was separated by this partition that was created by some entity of some description.
Particularly Yahweh, I believe. This is a typical answer.
Okay, I guess Greg is
so-
responsible for the dome maintenance.
So Yahweh, if you trust the Christians and some of the Jews, but otherwise there are various other Semitic religions who will give you different answers to that, which is very fun.
Yeah,
Aren't the majority of flat earthers Christians though?
Yes. So for most flat earthers, that will be the answer. In fact, I doubt any of them are like Canaanite polytheists or anything, because that requires too much research for a flat earther.
Yeah, that was part of my problem with the Bible growing up. Was I lived in a predominantly Jewish neighborhood, so 4 out of 5 people I talked about it with had read it in Hebrew and were constantly pointing out translation errors.
That's very fun.
I'm gonna
See,
take
some-
off, you guys. I gotta go.
Okay,
Okay.
take care.
Bye bye.
Catch you later, Jenny.
Some of the people in my Sunday school tried to teach me about the fact that because the Bible was originally written in Hebrew, there'd be translation errors, and it tried to explain what some of them are in order to make it make sense, which I applaud them for, because that probably would have had them branded a heretic if some certain people in the church had found out they told me that. But
Yeah, well, if the Bible has translation errors, it just kind of shows that for an all-powerful God, he's shit at communicating.
Yes.
I-
Obviously.
My
Also,
favorite thing is
the fact.
go on, sorry.
No, I'm sorry, man. I didn't mean to cut you off. I might have a lag issue. I was going to say also the fact that you have to cross-reference like hundreds and hundreds of pages back and forth for one point to make sense, because you have to go to this point, but then you got to go back to the Old Testament, and this is where this prophecy came from, and this is this fulfillment, and you know what I mean? Like, instead of just having it chronologically correct and just writing it down in a way that is, you know, sensible and makes sense to just anyone reading it, you have to practically, you know, spend your entire life cross-referencing the book from one end to the other just to know what it's actually saying.
Yep.
Which I find to be hilarious.
Well, because it was never written for the average person to read it. It was written with the assumption that there was only going to be a very small elite class who was literate.
Yep.
So it was figured that only the priests were going to read it, and they were going to explain it to everyone else.
My favorite thing to do with my Christian friends is to explain to them the Nicene Creed and the Apocryphal Gospels.
Yeah, somewhere around here I've got a copy of the Gospel
My favorite
of
thing to
Thomas. That's kind of a fun
my
one.
favorite thing to do with my Christian friends is not talk about it.
See, a lot of my Christian friends are only friends with me because they're willing to not proselytize, so we get to have actually interesting conversations about shit.
Yeah, that I can handle. I don't want to deal with the people who are still trying to convert me.
If they're trying to convert me, then I minimize our interactions and let them know that the interactions will continue to be minimized for as long as they keep trying to proselytize for me. And if they want to pray for me, that is acceptable, but they have to understand that they are then agreeing for me to pray for them.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Which they don't like very much.
Why is you praying for them going to soil their soul and keep them out of heaven?
Possibly, because it is going to tempt them with demonic influence, because, you know, pagan prayers are to demons.
Yeah. Yeah, as a pagan, I always had the problem with people telling me that it was satanic, and my having to explain to them that Satan was a character of the Bible, so if I rejected their whole mythology, he didn't exist either.
I know several theistic Satanists, and none of them actually believe in Yahweh as is written in the Bible. So even the ones who do accept it reject a lot of the Christians' bullshit.
I don't know any theistic Satanists. Never met one.
But I
I've
hang
met other
out in a
Satanists,
lot
but I've never
of.
met a theistic Satanist.
Yeah, I never met anyone who took Satan literally, only as a parody thing.
The thing is that
Yeah, like
they
the
are,
Prometheus.
they are Satanists insofar as they worship what the Christians refer to as Satan. Because the concept of Satan actually came from other surrounding religions.
Yep.
But not as a necessarily negative thing. And so that makes them theistic Satanists. But they reject Yahweh being a good God in the first place.
Well, I've had this theory that if you believe in the Bible, doesn't it make a lot more sense that it was written by Satan? Because it has inspired more arguments and wars than anything else in human history. So who else does this seem like the work of other than the ultimate trickster god?
That
This
is so.
Yeah.
If I may, that is so interesting you said that, Purple, because at some point, I can't remember if I was in high school or college, it occurred to me that if the devil is the ultimate trickster, how do we know that the Bible we're reading is hasn't been completely written or rewritten by the devil? And,
yeah, I think Satan wrote the Bible just to promote chaos among men.
Yeah.
I personally hold that Yahweh is the trickster deity here. And that people don't like that. The thing is that it's not even like I'm lying. I genuinely hold that Yahweh is a trickster deity. Akin to Loki or something.
So that sounds like you're picking up some lore from the Elder Scrolls, because pretty much
I have seen
the creator
nothing of
god.
the Elder Scrolls. I don't
pretty
hold
much
that
the
Yahweh is
creator
the
god is
creator god either. I hold that
Yeah.
Yahweh is. I hold that Yahweh decided to create a cult at some point, or through however the means work. That's a thing I'm vague on because I haven't read into much, but through some means, it seems most likely to me that Christians are genuinely having religious experiences like I know other pagans do, and I do, and that it would then follow that because it's a monotheistic tradition, it's probably a trickster god, and that's how they've tended to be viewed in history.
I gotta admit, I'd probably be a trickster god if I were a god.
Yeah,
Because that sounds like the funnest kind of god to be.
Oh, I absolutely also would be. Partially because I'm a dick, but you know. I'm not saying I blame the guy, just saying that that's my interpretation of it.
Yeah, well, that gets back to why I say polytheism makes a lot more sense than monotheism.
Yeah.
Because if you think that there's only one God and the world is really so screwed up, you have to acknowledge that he's incompetent. But if you acknowledge that there's like a dozen gods who are all constantly arguing over who's in charge, then it all kind of makes sense.
I quite like using, like, because it's pretty easy to convince a Christian that Christianity came from Judaism. Because it did. But once you explain that, if you point out to them that in Judaism there is no concept of hell, and all of this sort of stuff, where Christianity added to Judaic law, they don't like that much either. I mean, also the fact that Judaism used to be polytheistic and some sects of it still are, and the Bible contains accounts of other deities, some of which have bested Yahweh effectively.
Well, the Torah refers to Yahweh's life.
Mm-hmm.
Crimson's got a good take on it. What if
quite
Yahweh
like,
was the first troll? When you die, you go to heaven as an atheist. You can all get in. Christianity was just a joke.
the whole afterlives thing frustrates me because it's like you have no way of gaining information about this. I'm agnostic on the concept of an afterlife.
Yeah, I've been struck by how
Yeah,
description
you
of
don't know till you
heaven-
get there, right?
Yeah, and it's like, even if one does exist within pagan religions, a lot of the time, stories of afterlives aren't, as far as I can tell through reading up on history, taken super seriously. It's always a bit of a, when you die, you're dead, so live. And if there's an afterlife, great, I will be pleasantly surprised. But if not, then I've done what I can with what I've got.
I
hope
honestly
there's not an
find the
afterlife.
I honestly find the concept of an afterlife to be a cruel insult.
Terrifying. It terrifies me.
That's fair.
No matter what it is,
personally,
whether it's the heavenly concept or the
I
just
quite want-
existing
a lot of-
forever.
the only depiction of an afterlife that I've ever thought. Yeah, the only depiction of an afterlife that I've ever seen that came close to what I would think would be okay is the very last season of The Good Place. At the very end of the TV show, The Good Place, they kind of show exactly what I'd like. The only kind of afterlife I would find to be not absolutely terrifying.
Mm.
Ooh, I haven't seen the end yet.
Yeah, I've only seen the first season.
I've seen the first season and bits of every season.
Oh,
between,
yeah,
so I
it's
know what
great.
you mean. I know what you mean because my little brothers watched all of it in front of me, and honestly, that would be quite a nice option. As would New Game Plus, though I doubt it.
I kind of
New
like
Game
the
Plus
one.
would be good to me, it would only be good if it didn't last forever. Like, I don't want to live forever.
True.
That would suck.
I think that I could deal with living forever, but I have to accept that I'm going to be a drastically different person by the end of it than I am now. And I'll probably look back at where I am now and go, "Gods, you were a dumbass."
Yeah, I don't know. I had felt that reincarnation probably made the most sense. That was just basically like your soul getting recycled into another body.
I quite like something that I've heard.
But
Go on, sorry.
Go
no,
ahead,
you're
Duke.
good. I think that, to me, every iteration of reincarnation, I'm going. I think there's a lag. Every iteration of reincarnation I've ever heard of just doesn't seem very much different from Oblivion, because I won't exist anymore. So while I might have an essence that passes on to a new body, it's an entirely new person, all things considered, with new experiences, and I won't exist anymore. So I don't really see a difference.
I quite like, as a thought experiment, the concept of a single soul that gets recycled and it shifts through time until you've been all of humanity, and then you get all of the memories of all of humanity collectively and become something else, as a thought experiment.
I do kind of like the afterlife presented in What Dreams May Come, where pretty much the afterlife is perpetual dream, and it's pretty well shaped by your experiences.
Well, yeah, and the idea there that basically everyone created their own afterlife.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think afterlives can be a fun concept, but also some of that shit's scary.
It also takes away from the time you need to spend, like dealing with mortality, coming to terms with the finality of death, and I think that's why ultimately it's a cruel insult, because because you have to learn to deal with reality, and that's like one of the most important facts of reality that you have to deal with.
Yeah, what
Yeah.
Hans was saying here about the thing with heaven and hell, and going
Oh,
to
yeah, it
heaven would
would
seem
be.
like hell to me.
Now, I agree, and that's why I think that heaven and hell are incoherent concepts.
Yeah, well, on several levels, but one of the things is that, like, my brother's idea of heaven would involve all of us being up there together, and for me, just the fact that I would have to deal with him on a daily basis would be hell in itself. So there can be no version of heaven that would actually suit both of us, unless one of us completely had our mind wiped. But heaven just sounds incredibly boring. In fact, heaven sounds an awful lot like the Viking version of hell. The Viking version of hell has no demons or fire or punishment. It's just described as an eternity of mindless boredom.
Actually, it's sort of not. Hell is described as the concept of a place where everyone goes when they die, and it is effectively a garden to exist and celebrate with people in and have peace. And so, like, the other thing is that within some groups of the Norse, they had it work slightly differently. And so, like, there were different parts of the soul, for example. And so Valhalla is not necessarily a place your whole soul goes, but just a part of it. And it was considered a torturous place. Yeah, I would agree there. Hell would be one of the nicer places to go.
Yeah. Yeah, Duke, we don't have any links for you.
What's that?
We don't have any links for you. I went to add your links to the description and I don't have any.
Links for me?
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah,
don't worry about
Twitter,
that.
if nothing else.
I don't have any links unless if nothing else, like if you just put dukebonanza.com, that's my blog, but I haven't written in it in a while, but that's my blog.
Okay, well, whatever you might want in the description if people wanted to contact you. It's up to you.
Yeah, that's probably the best way.
Yeah, Amiga Nuts is a consummate shill. They shill everybody out.
Yep. So for dukebonanza.com, does that have any spaces or punctuation marks or anything?
Not at all. It's just literally dukebonanza.com. I need to get back to writing. I've been so freaking lazy about it. I actually wrote an article about the afterlife and my thoughts on it in that blog.
That's pretty cool. Might have to have a nosy about that. It's always interesting to see other people's takes on shit.
Yeah, I need to get back to doing my writing too, but I just never seem to be able to do much
Also,
of anything.
Also, if you want to read a fan fiction where Ansgar Odinson has a steamy, passionate love affair with Kent Hovind, you can totally find that on there also.
Yeah, I was in a live stream where that was read out, so.
Yeah, Ansgar did the reading of it. It was exquisite.
That sounds awful and fantastic. I love it.
Oh, it is torturous. Oh, bye, Randy.
So am I getting like a really bad like delay before you guys hear me speak?
Yeah, there seems to be a long pause there.
Yep.
But that happens, and I know
10-4.
that, yeah, StreamYards has some issues with people using mobile devices.
Yeah, I have a few issues with it.
I just hope that it doesn't try and throw as much of a hissy fit when I set up my new soundboard.
Well, are you just running it on a tablet, or have you actually got a computer there?
I'm currently working it on my laptop, but I've got a new physical soundboard that I'm going to be setting up and plugging my mic into for when I do videos and shit. And hopefully StreamYards doesn't dislike that too much.
Yeah, if you're running it through a laptop, I think you probably won't have too much trouble with it.
Yeah. If needs be, I can always swap back to this setup for streams and swap back over to that one for pre-records.
Black.
Come on, you prick you.
Oh. Well, I think I can keep this one a short one because I've just been in a lot of pain lately. So
this is fair. You need to take care of yourself.
I'm just not really being that with the conversation. So does anybody have anything they want to chill out before we go? Any upcoming performances you want to plug?
So in theory, in this next week, but definitely before New Year's, I am releasing a video about minority identities and tokenism and how identities like this are not quirky. It's fucking exhausting. And so I've not decided on a title for that yet. I'll come up with something. But yeah, that's a thing.
Call it No ID.
And so, yeah, besides that, and then saying I've got a channel and a Twitter, and I scream into the void on Twitter. That's all I got.
Yep, I've got your channel and your Twitter links in the description.
Cheers.
Okay, well, I just dropped a link in the side chat for the kickoff stream for the Christmas Day Marathon. We've got the schedule filled up for a full 36 hours, but not everybody has provided me with the links. They haven't all got their place cards set up yet. But if you follow that one as they come in, I will put all the other links in the description to that one. So basically just the idea that anytime Christmas Day, there will be somewhere that people can pop in and sit and chat with friends. If you can't go anywhere to visit with people, or if you just need to talk to some people after dealing with family or whatever.
Yeah, I will probably be around for a bit of that, but
yeah, I will try to be around for most of it, but obviously at some point in there I will have to try to sleep for a few hours. I had been hoping to have my new computer set up in time to do it, but my third attempt at ordering the CPU for it came back with an email from Amazon saying that they canceled the order because they couldn't get stock. So I have to order the CPU again. And at this point, I can't find anybody who can deliver it before January.
That
Not
is
to
so
mention the fact
crazy.
that the price has gone up $100 since I first ordered it.
What the hell?
Yeah, when I first ordered it, it was going for $140, and now it's going for $230.
Oh,
And the whole idea was I was getting one that was a couple of years older, with the idea that they were coming out with new ones, so the demand for that was supposed to be going down. But
insanity.
yeah. Well, and I know part of it is that COVID has actually screwed up the supply chain with as far as electronics go.
yeah.
It took me 3 months to find a replacement trackball because nobody had those in stock.
Yeah, it's screwing that up everywhere. There's a lot of problems with lumber. Like there's a lot of lumber shortages.
Yeah, Herp, I don't think you actually put the link to the marathon in the chat.
It came up as a separate line, but it was directly under it there.
Because I'm not seeing it in the chat. And by the looks of one of the comments, it doesn't seem like they are as well.
Yeah, well, I see Linda's comment there, but I also see the link there. But I'm going to do it again. Yep.
All right, guys. Well, I'm going to duck out. Sorry if this overlaps anybody when I try to talk, but it's good to see everyone. We'll see you again sometime.
Okay, yeah, good to have you
All right.
stop in
You
with
look
us.
after yourself.
Yep, we'll catch you later.
Great to see you again, man.
Okay, yeah, so I'm just going to wrap it up here then. Oh, Urban Lad just popped in. Hi. Sorry, we were just wrapping
Hello.
things up. Usually we go a lot longer than this, but I'm just not quite feeling up for it today.
Aye.
So, and actually, I think that junk shop will be starting in like 15 minutes, right? So people might want to pop over there. And then Black Sofa will be coming on in about 2 hours. So thank you everybody for coming. And yeah, I will be back here, tomorrow night at midnight. So we will catch you all later. Bye-bye.
Bye.